We're here with, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, four-time Paralympian, eight-time gold medalist, Sophie Christiansen. He's going to be speaking with us today about disability rights, about our handbook, about your own experiences, and then also about access to support and your thoughts on sport and physical activity for disabled people and what it's done for you.
Yeah,
Um, so I'm going to start with, obviously, we Disability Rights UK have on the 50th anniversary of our Disability Rights Handbook, which is obviously what provides people with information about navigating the social security system, I suppose, in a more hostile society than we would like it to be, and that's why it exists. So I guess my first question to you is that you've worked tirelessly to use your position to show that despite how well known you might be and the accomplishments you have, disabled people continue to face barriers in our everyday life. Um, and despite being a Paralympian, you recently had this experience whilst trying to find a home that was accessible for you, I believe, and also on transport. So I wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about that, and what helped and what changes you would make to stop having those barriers that you experienced.
yeah. Well, I guess me starting to speak out about disability issues happened around the London 2012 Paralympics.
Mm,
I was starting to be interviewed about um just day-to-day life because obviously I was not just a Paralympic gold medalist. I also work as a at the time I worked as a statistician for a pharmaceutical company, and now I work as a software developer for an investment bank. So I kind of had that dual life to talk
mm,
about. And it was really powerful for me to talk about, we watched the Paralympics, see these amazing athletes winning gold medals. But actually, how did we get there? What
yeah.
are the barriers that we face in day-to-day life just to live? And, it's that kind of story that I think is really powerful. So I started giving examples of where society has let me down, like getting into work on trains. I've been left without a ramp countless times. Um, when I bought a house with my fiance, the struggle I faced to find accessible housing. I didn't really want to live in a flat. Um, and the only choice we had that we could afford was bungalows, but then we have to compete with the elderly, which pushes the prices up. So
Mm,
I've been talking to my local authority about building more accessible housing, not just in the um social sector, but also for private buyers. Um, I just think for me, it's important to move away from the story that disabled people are benefit strangers.
mm,
Like that is not who I am. I work very hard, I pay my taxes, so why can't the UK society and government, help me by removing barriers that I face? Because
mm,
the UK is not set up for disabled people.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you. I mean, very powerful as well, and having to face all of those barriers in housing. I know that's work some of our policy team do, and having to look at the fact that there's just like no accessible housing for people. I wondered if you could talk about maybe how important it is, like how when you were going through that process of trying to find accessible housing, was there any information that was available for you on this kind of important topic, or was it just something that you were kind of having to ad hoc figure out on your own because there's very little support?
Yeah, I mean, not just with housing, but living with a disability, finding the relevant information is so difficult. I think it's getting a bit better now, with companies' websites now have to have accessibility statements, so companies are beginning to think about the user experience as a disabled person, but having a handbook like Disability Rights UK, it's just all the information in one place that disabled people need just to go about their life, and it makes it easier for us rather than to keep fighting and finding information, to have a handbook like this.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I suppose if everyone's trying to find information in different places and finally having it all in one. And I guess I wonder what you thought about how important it is that that information is written by disabled people for disabled people, and if that had an impact on when you were using that kind of advice.
Yeah, I definitely believe in nothing about us without us, that phrase that we in the disabled community use. Um, I very much endorse companies using, forums and reaching out to disabled people to get wide amounts of, input from lived experiences. I do it myself. I don't know about what it's like to have other disabilities, like be neurodiverse or hearing or vision impaired, but I take it upon myself to learn about the barriers that different impairments face. So having a handbook really written by people with different impairments is so powerful.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point. Um, and I wonder how, if you have any examples of this disabled community, obviously with our varied impairments, coming together to support you and how that might have impacted you.
Um, I I think the Paralympics is a great example of seeing different impairments, kind of just getting on with their lives. It definitely changed my life when I went to my first Paralympic Games when I was just 16 years old. It was so influential to me at that age to see different people from different countries, different disabilities, so much diversity, and just being seen in that positive light, I decided that I wanted to be like them and you know, talk about my disability because I was really quite shy when I
Mm,
was a teenager, especially because of my speech, and seeing amazing disabled people really just brought it out of myself. And I
mm.
think that's what society in the UK is really missing out on by being so siloed and not embracing diversity. You're really missing out on, multicolored life, as it were.
Mm.
And really, getting the most out of employees and customers by sharing such diverse outlets on life.
Yeah, it's such a great point about feeling more confident after being around other disabled people and how I suppose people of all forms of marginalization can feel similarly if we're in a society that celebrates that. I'm glad you brought up the Paralympics though, because I did want to ask you about some of these things. For example, equestrian riding from my experience is quite an unusual sport to get into. So I was wondering if you could tell us how you first started.
Yeah, so actually in the UK there's a charity called Riding for the Disabled Association, which for me was perfect. I went to the RDA with my school. The physiotherapist who visited my primary school believed in the benefits of horse riding for the pupils with disabilities, and we all went in the school minibus to the local group, and I just loved horse riding because it made me feel normal. um, for me, it was like physiotherapy in disguise. I hated normal physio as a child, so on a horse, it didn't feel like that. It just felt like I was a normal little girl. And so I would not have sat on a horse without the charity. Like a bit like you, my family weren't remotely into horses, but without that charity, yeah, my whole career would not have happened. So I think it's quite common because of the charity that people with my level of disability are able to ride a horse.
Wow. That's so interesting. Because I was thinking about the one of the campaigns we run, Get Yourself Active, is about disabled people's right to physical activity. And I suppose it's great that there's charities that are finally opening up this access for people, but it's also sad that it's something charities, I suppose, have to do and it's not there because, as you mentioned, being able to take part in this when you were young did so much for you, obviously for your whole life, but even just as a young person. Um, and I wonder how you think things might have improved from when you were young, in terms of disabled people having access to sport, or if things have improved, if anything has changed or got worse even. But I wonder if you can think about maybe the difference between then and now and what's happened.
Yeah, I think everyone has different experiences, right? Depending on where you live or what you're
Mm,
interested in. So for me, when I was at school, I had brilliant PE teachers,
mm,
and they got me involved in things like football and hockey, even if I was awful and
mm,
kept falling over. But I know that that's not the case in every school, so I was super lucky with that. And then when my dressage career took off, that kind of was the only sport for me really, apart from I went to the gym a lot to keep myself fit, for riding a horse, and that kind of took a lot of working out what I could and couldn't do.
mm,
I have faced a bit of discrimination in that area. When I went to university, I tried to work with a personal trainer who just refused to meet with me because I
wow,
have a disability. But now I've worked with brilliant personal trainers who are able to think outside the box, and
mm,
it's not even that, it's just, being open to talk to people.
mm,
It's
mm,
really not that difficult. So I think I am quite good at kind of conveying what I can and can't do, but
mm,
also they are good at pushing me.
mm,
But now I've retired from dressage, I'm finding out about other sports now.
mm.
So I've recently started. It's called frame running, which is an athletics event for severely disabled people. So it's like a frame without it's like a tricycle without pedals. So
Ah,
you just sit on the seat and just run. It's amazing. Um, so I've started, training at an athletics club, but I also do park run, which is brilliant because, often I'm the only disabled person at park run, but no one cares. And people really cheer me on. I kind of get the same vibes from park run that I did from competing, which
Oh,
is
wow.
really cool.
That's so nice. Wow. And then I guess on that, I mean, you already kind of said it, but I would love to know your thoughts on how physical activity, when in the right way and in the way that we can enjoy, can help and improve disabled people's lives.
Yeah, obviously I've just retired and I didn't want to just stop being physically fit because
Mm,
I think it enables me to live my life to the fullest by being fit and active. So, you know, I I still think it is quite difficult to get into different sports even now.
mm,
Like in athletics, I'm having to find people to ask about para sport, and that's kind of why Disability Rights UK has a handbook, right?
mm.
It's just information finding is the worst when you've got a disability, but I do think it's worth it. Taking my example from Parkrun, they were so inclusive. I just emailed them saying, hey, I'm bringing my frame just so you're aware. And they're like, cool. And they just make an announcement at the start so people are aware. And to be able to run 5K with like 500 able-bodied people every week is just really cool and
Yeah.
something that I never thought I would be able to do.
Wow. That's so great as well. And also the fact that, when people just put a small amount of effort into speaking to you and listening to you and then, announcing like this is what's gonna happen. And like it can just open things up way more for people. And if more, I suppose, organizations are willing to just listen to us a bit and think about how to make things inclusive for us, there's such a world of possibility for different things we can enjoy. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. And so I guess my final question, going a little bit back to the equestrian events, is what is your favorite memory or one of your favorite memories over the years of riding and competing? I mean, I suppose it can also include park run and these things that you've done since retirement, seeing as they sound so great as well.
Yeah, I mean, during my career, I would definitely say London 2012 was
Mm,
a definite game changer for the Paralympics. And my sport isn't the most well known, but in London we had 10,000 people coming to watch. And my favourite memory was when I came out of my third event and my horse was super safe with the people, but the crowd were told to do a butterfly wave instead of clap for health and safety. And my brother and my two cousins jumped up, ripped off their t-shirts and shouted, "We love you, Sophie!" And the whole 10,000 strong crowd just erupted into cheers. Yeah, I loved it.
oh,
Um,
amazing.
so that was like my favorite moment. But
Mm,
yeah, as I said, being able to achieve things that I never thought I could also gives me that same high. So running my first part run, I was like in tears by the end because I
mm,
never thought I'd be able to do that with my fiance. So that
mm.
was really cool.
That's so lovely. I love how, some of your favorite memories are, yeah, obviously being in an Olympic stadium and then also doing the park run just shows how important these experiences can be to us personally. It doesn't have to be winning a gold medal, though obviously you have a few to your name.